items will be covered in this so that it makes the budget process a little bit easier. We did, as we have done in the past, zero-based budgeting. We've included in there a 6.5% anticipated increase in health costs and 2% in dental. In talking with the high school, I know they're still working on their budget, but it may come in somewhat as it is right now, and we are going to have a smaller piece of that because Barnstead will have a higher percentage, so unsure about that. And we're projecting out about 458 students for next year. So we have been guided by our strategic plan. These items are a result of the strategic plan. And I'm not going to go certainly through every single one, but just a highlight, we started a new summer reading program this past year. We had nearly 80% of middle schoolers take part in summer reading, which is just about double what it had been the year before, by giving them choice. A huge change. I think that will even go up next year. That our literacy initiative, we already have teachers who are saying that they are seeing an increase in student skills and engagement in writing because of the program that's been in effect for 6 weeks now. So overall, these are some of the things that we have done as a result of the strategic plan, and these are more of the things that we have done. We are invited to the Partners in Education breakfast again this year because of our high rate of volunteerism. One of the things, not there yet, hold on. Where do I want to be? Our triad meetings are already assembled, and we start October 23rd will be our first triad meeting, and those are the meetings between the teachers from the 3 different schools, the high school, Alton and Barnstead. So a lot of accomplishments since our strategic plan in place, and this budget reflects us wanting to move forward from there. So one of the results of the strategic plan was our award this past year as K-8 School of the Year, and it is in large part because we had a plan, we followed it, implemented it, and followed through. So that was a real feather in the cap. We have 5 goals left of the plan. In year 3 of a 4-year plan, we have 5 goals left. This is where we are, and I'm not going to do a report during our board meeting. I'm just weaving it in here. That these are the 5 goals. Those are the changes since last we met. We have implemented the K-8 literacy program. She has done a great job with organizing PLCs, with the materials, with the support, with work groups, curriculum meetings, is in and working. That our e-portfolios are up and working as well. One of the things that I want to share with you, and please understand that it's a draft, but I wanted to just show you where we're going with something. And it has to do with our option to learn anywhere and any time. I'm going to hold that just a second. But we continue to make growth on that. Our teachers are just about ready to take on the ownership of running data meetings. And in order to do that, we're going to need to pay some additional time for meetings, and you will see an increase in the budget in the professional development lines to accommodate the need for some more meetings. We recently went to a data diving workshop in Laconia where there was 6 of us. And in talking to the teachers, we asked, do you have the materials you need? Do you have the program that you need? And the answer overwhelmingly was yes. What they said they needed was time. And so during our discovery days, for example, we gave them time. The beginning of the school year, we gave them time. And we are working, Shay and the committee are working on organizing time during this school year, next school year, where that support is going to continue. It's critical in moving us forward. One of the other pieces is holding administrators accountable for the time and the feedback they give. One of the highest rated ways that teachers improve is from feedback from administrators. And so if you were in that admin wing just outside of John's office, there are 2 whiteboards side by side. Along the left side are all the names of the staff. On the top is every single day of first trimester. And every time an administrator does a walkthrough of the classroom, and it's not just a zipping through, but spending a little time in the classroom, they put a check mark. Every time it's circled, that's when an administrator has left feedback for the teacher. So it's accomplishing a lot of things. We're getting our administrators out into the school far more often to give them connection with kids and with staff. We're having our administrators give more feedback to our teachers. We're giving a great connection between administrators and teachers. And overall, it's having a wonderful impact. But it's one more piece of accountability that doesn't cost us anything at all. We are delving in with the Department of Education to do a social emotional plan for the whole school so that we have a plan pre-K to 8. We're going to start that this year, but next year we're going to form some solid committees that do that consistency. And so again, this is going to hit our committee line. We're going to see that increased. That is the reason why. And the last piece of our strategic plan that we're going to be working on this year is scheduling. And so where we are with this, if you want to take one, and it's just one of these, and pass it along, please. So I've been talking with the high school about the possibility of our 7th and 8th grade students taking classes at the high school, and how can we get that to happen. So starting on January 27th, we are going to start this program. And we're calling it our Expanding Horizons program. To pilot it, the classes are going to be kind of the, I don't want to say extracurricular because it's metal work and woodworking, there's a music class, keyboarding, those kinds of things. In the fall, there will be academics in there as well for our kids. We're going to pilot it with these 8 courses. And it's going to give our 7th and 8th graders an opportunity to get acclimated to the high school earlier, to start making friends. I mean, if you're good in woodworking, it doesn't matter if you're 13 or you're 18. Let's put them in an environment where kids are going to love learning. So it works out that at the end of our day, and our last period class is at 2 o'clock, the high school is 2:11, and so our kids who are interested and meet the qualifications are going to take a bus over to the high school, take last period class at the high school, and they will earn high school credit for it. So we're very excited about piloting this, and please don't, what you have here, it's a draft, okay? It's not finished, it's a draft. So if you see some little blips, it's a draft. I still have to write the parent letter and a registration form, but I wanted you to know that for the strategic plan, this was one big one that was left, and we're moving forward on it. So you're going to see some money in transportation that we're going to need to transport the kids at the end of the day to the high school. And then they'll, of course, take their bus from the high school home. So that's not a problem. Yes, ma'am.
This is great. Will it be open to not just your high achieving students,
Correct.
but all different levels of students?
Yes, and that is very important. And in the brochure, they have to have at least a C average in all their classes, otherwise they need that win time at the end of the day. But as long as they're holding their classes, they're getting their homework in, this is for any student, because every student needs these things. We've seen the impact of the electives for our kids. Our attendance is between 3.5%, and I think we've had a high of 6% all year of absences. That's not the way it had been before we had electives. So I think this is going to have a big impact on our high school. The high school is very excited about welcoming our kids here, by the way, and we're set to go. So January 27th, and we're going to introduce it to the kids in the next 3 weeks or so. So you can look for a letter coming home.
I was a little concerned about students having no discipline reports, and I mean, no bullying is one thing, but you know, that doesn't allow for flexibility for students who are struggling, especially if you're taking an SEL approach. I just get a little concerned when we say no.
Right.
And something with a little more discretion might, especially if you're offering more hands-on activities, those things are driving forces and some of those kids need it, so. I'm just.
No, I agree with you. That came as a question from the high school saying, we know that if kids are gonna come here and be disruptive, it's not gonna be a positive experience. So we have to have kids who are gonna come here and understand that they're gonna work and behave. It's a draft.
Right, well, that's when, like, whenever I see the word that's like a no.
Yeah, we're not zero
We're
tolerance.
if it's a zero tolerance, it kind of limits some, whereas you have one child who's had a bad day and one particular incident who may otherwise really benefit and be a good, but I'd love you to, again, administrators should have flexibility, so anytime you write zero and you take away your ability to be flexible as administrators, they're your kids, you know them. I would like to believe that, yeah, I got a report on a kid, but I know what's going on. I want our administrators to have the flexibility to make judgment calls.
And we just have to figure out that
Okay.
wording.
That's great, I just wanted to
So I
bring
did
it,
this yesterday, so
No,
I
oh.
could get it in your hands, so.
gotcha. I just want them to have the human, because I trust judgment of our administrators more than just a, hey, somebody wrote a kid up, but they didn't have the whole
Right.
story, but then, hey, I'm sorry, you're not eligible. You know, I want them to have flexibility.
Absolutely
That's all.
agree, yeah.
Okay.
So there will be something in there about behavior, but
Great.
I don't know what it will be.
I just don't like it to be a zero tolerance without
We
administrative
don't really do zero tolerance.
flexibility.
Yeah,
Just my perspective.
excellent. One of the other things that I did want to mention about time for teachers was we just finished a Discovery Day where we had 18 workshops presented by our own staff who did things from, we had CPI training, Google Forms, word problems and fluency games, SEL for preschool, bringing nature into the classroom, Google 101. It was very well received, and people are already talking about getting ready for the March one. So giving teachers time was very important. So in the budget, there are two categories, and we have discretionary, non-discretionary. You know what the discretionary are: the furniture, books, dues and fees, and then the things that we are held to by RSA that we need to provide to our kids. Some of the initiatives that you're going to see in the budget, we are putting in for another classroom teacher. We are going to be up about 26 students in the last 2 years, so we're going to need another teacher. The SEL work I mentioned, you're going to see some additional larger projects in the buildings and grounds budget. We don't have that $705,000 bond payment, so we put some things in there that we might not normally have put in, but we're still coming in 2% under where we are this year, so just want you to know that. And our bus contract, we will be bringing to you at the November meeting. The bid is out. We'll be opening that up November 1st, and we'll have that for you at the November board meeting. So if we go by function, you can see that we've got regular ed materials, some salaries are up. Because of our new language arts program, our new math program, we need those additional materials. Technology is up, not much, for some Chromebook things. Special ed is up somewhat considerably. Pam will explain that when she gets to her section, but just about all of it is, we have some other district needs. When we look at our enrichment and co-curricular, that is down, and some of that rests in the improvement of instruction line. Guidance and health reflects an addition basically in salaries. We added 0.1 to guidance, and then a staff member who had a different salary. Our school board superintendent lines are down. We are saving in legal fees, and salaries and adjustment line is down. Principal's line is up. Those are some benefits and salaries. Building maintenance, I'm going to let Sean talk about. He's got all kinds of good things in there for your consideration. The bus contract, we have anticipated the bus contract coming in between 2.7 and 3% higher than the current contract. After analyzing our current contract, when you look at step by step and year to year, it's coming in between 2.6 and 3% increase, so we kind of averaged in there. We also have the money for the kids, 7th and 8th graders, to go to the high school for the initiative, and we have a homeless responsibility that we are sharing with another town that's $26,000, so we put it in there as well. And then our field trips and athletic trips, and again, Mr. Lafreniere is going to address that. It's reflecting actual costs, no cuts. So the enrollment trends, you can see we've got a little upward dip here. And when you look at enrollment numbers between this year and anticipating next year, we're looking at 26 students increase. So with that, our 5th grade class next year is going to be very small. It's going to be 38 students. So we're going to be able to take one of those teachers and move them to a class that's a little larger. So that will work. We're going to do a little swap here to make that work. But then we still have 2nd and 3rd grades that their numbers are increasing. They're not insurmountable by any means, but for our policy, they are on the edge. And so we did put in for one additional classroom teacher that will be at the lower grades. Karen had asked for a breakout of enrichment things versus athletic. You have it in your book because I could not fit all 4 years on the slide. And I don't want to go through all of this, but you'll see there's a summary of the total cost, and I did take out open management, any teacher are all gone, they're out. Okay, so you see what's included in there. The 4th year for 2021 is in your book. I think the enrichment is a little bit higher. I don't remember quite offhand. So in 2021, this is 38,017, and this is 64,105. Part of that increase in enrichment is I'm increasing the stipends for the enrichment folks by 11%, bringing them from $22.50 an hour to $25. They've been at $22.50 forever, and it's time to increase that. So there's an increase there for them. For warrant articles, we have a few more than last year. So we have the cafeteria, phase 1, which will give us about 1,000 square feet more, giving us a really nice space for our kids, for meetings. That's gonna work out very nicely. Negotiations are unknown at this point. We could do an unassigned fund balance that the DRA will allow us to do an up to. My recommendation would be that we at least do the buildings and grounds, because we are not getting water to that field. We have looked at everything. Our last hope here is that instead of doing the whole field, we're gonna focus on the soccer field. We're gonna prep that area, we're gonna do sod, seed.
Sod.
Yes, and then we can do an irrigation under that, but we have to work on getting a 2-inch line from the town. So we're working on that again. But the other options that we have explored, they're not working, any of them. So we're still on it, but putting money in the budget right now for that project, if that goes by the way, means we've put money in that we don't need again. So if we put it in an expendable trust, the money is there when we need it. And then I put some suggestions based on the trust balances on what we might want to consider putting in for warrants for up to amounts in the other trusts. And then creating a new technology expendable trust with a suggestion of 30,000. I'd like to increase the supervisors of the checklist. These ladies go to the deliberative session, they're voting all day, they go to 2 other meetings, they get $40. So it might be nice if we increase, if we gave them each $150, won't break our bank, but it's a nice gesture to them and thank them for the work they do. And then the high school, of course, whatever they put in. So revenue, just quickly, we will no longer be getting our Keynote Garden money. That is gone from the budget that was just signed, and because we do not get any adequacy money, that 40,000 is gone. We will not be getting that anymore. Medicaid, we are in an emergency rule. The state is in an emergency rule for Medicaid, and Pam and I and somebody else sat down. Sonia, thank you. And really looked at what can we count on for Medicaid. Because right now, our emergency rule is saying that we can only get reimbursement for anything that is approved by a doctor or an APRN. Well, they're generally not sitting at our IEP meetings. So we have, we have the possibility here with out of districtness where this 20,000 would be guaranteed. It's what we get, it's medical, we know we will get that. But anything over that 20, we don't know. We're generally getting $150,000, $225,000 from Medicaid. Don't know. And the emergency rule could change tomorrow. So we don't know.
Do we contract out for our Medicaid billing, or
We do not.
It's done in-house now?
It's in-house. High school, we don't know, and Cat Aid, we're estimating around 25,000. So our revenue will be down dramatically. So just to finish up, this is the breakout of percentages of where our budget is. The high school tuition percentage is at this year's number, so that will change. But the highest is instruction, followed by special ed. And then just looking over time, what I put in is over the last 6 years, this bottom is the actual bottom line budget. This was Fund 1, and what's on top here were the warrants. So it gives you a picture of what the total amount was of responsibility was to the taxpayers. So you can see that right now on the last one, we're looking at coming under the last 5 years or so, and that number is not negotiations and no high school. And lastly, we're still looking at the actual cost of health and dental. We're hoping to have that by the time we have our November board meeting. The cost of property liability, what the high school tuition will be, and any warrants. And I'm just going to mention here, the state has $46 million for charter schools. Superintendents are being encouraged to consider starting charter schools in their district. For us, it would mean that maybe we would start a at-risk charter school, let's say, that we would send our Alton kids to. And so our Fund 1 budget would fund the charter school that we would take money out of. I'm not excited about this, but I want to bring it to your attention that $46 million is out there for charter schools. If you say we want you to pursue it, I will. But it seems like it's taking money out of one pot, and the charter school gets 80% of our per pupil cost, and we would take that out and we would give it to a charter school that has its own charter and has its own budget and its own board of directors, but it would be, it's charter schools and public schools, it would be in Alton, and we would send Alton children.
So these, traditionally, in New Hampshire, charter schools take in kids from multiple districts.
They can,
So-
absolutely.
So there could be a charter school in a neighboring district that takes kids
Yes.
from us that uses this money.
Absolutely. And if we have kids who go to a charter school in Laconia, we have to pay $80 per pupil, goes right out the door with them. Yeah. So
So not exciting, but it could be smart, maybe.
maybe. Maybe.
Look at it.
Yeah, the commissioner was saying that they are really going to be looking for proposals that deal with at-risk students. So we're not looking at charter schools for music or science. He's really looking for at-risk kinds of programs, behavioral and that kind of thing.
We've talked a lot between here and the high school about, you know, the students who need an alternative environment and who need to be moving all day long.
Right.
You know,
He's very excited to do it at the high school.
outdoor.
Nature-based.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation around nature-based behavioral, kids who struggle with the traditional classroom environment.
Yeah.
But there isn't a lot in this general area. It's a catch-22.
And it takes, I've been a part of a process of setting up a charter school in another district. It takes several years to get done. Doesn't mean it can't be done. It's not an overnight, it takes a lot of time to get it done. So if you want me to investigate this, I certainly will. But I want you to know that it's out there.
It'd be kind of exciting if the three districts were working together, but then if Gilmanton comes into the high school, that could affect the space that's available for something like this too, you know?
But he was saying with 46 million, part of our proposal would be we can buy a building.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have to have it at one of the schools.
But a building that happens to have soccer fields and stuff attached to it with irrigation.
Just get water. We can fit this grass there, just get water. So do you want me to look at this more then? You can tell me and think about it and tell me in November.
I mean, I think it's worth looking into. I mean, I think there's some significant pros and cons, but also looking at where the money is, what our student needs are, especially in this area, some joint effort between, there isn't a place to send kids who need that, and I'm wondering, you know, some kiddos that we suspend a lot or struggle with our everyday, would they do better? And if we had it here, and if, I don't know, I think it's worth looking into, and I'll just leave it at that. I think there's,
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Any consensus?
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about it too.
Okay. All right, so I'll bring more. I don't know even if the application is finished yet, if the DOE has finished writing it. But if it is, I will bring it with me to the November meeting. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it. So you have in your packet a list of the different functions. And I'd like to suggest that we do this like we did last year. Like Jim has one line, one function. So if he can give you his information and then do what he needs to do, we'll go right down. I'll say he's still a friend there.
Alright.
You're on.
We jumped the gun this year. Okay, this year's transportation budget for athletics, well, next year's rather, it comes to a total of $14,559.86. For the fall sports, it was $6,656.37, and for the winter sports, it was $3,573.86, and for the spring sports, it was $4,329.63. And
And that is with the anticipation of a new bus contract. We have added in a 2.7% increase to the bottom line numbers for a new bus contract.
yeah, because they did not, when I called the bus company, they did not have, they gave me the $22.85 for the wait time and the $2.35, the same as it was last year.
So what is the balance of the increase in the basic contract? Where we have, you know, a net change of 19%.
We were one less bus,
Okay, so this does include an additional.
but this is not the line that he's on.
he's on
Oh,
the
Jim's on.
I'm just on athletics.
That's okay.
Yeah.
He's
Page
in
79.
function 2724.
Okay.
Okay.
And I know this is a new format. We have a new program, so it does take a little getting used to.
I'll see my question.
Okay.
We're good?
Yep.
Thank you so much. You can just find it. Please.
Excellent.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Jim.
I hope you have a nice quick meeting.
Thank you. The next one is function 1140. It's technology 1140.
Before we go further, can
Yes.
I have one broad comment?
Of
Like,
course.
just one thing I wanted to address on, you know, looking at this, you know, the total number in the budget is 2% under last year's, or budget for this year. But I think we should say out loud and to keep reality in perspective that if we look at apples and apples without the debt service.
Yep.
When I did the numbers, we're actually, our operating is actually 3.4% higher.
Yes.
Okay.
I absolutely agree with that, and some of that is as a result of no bond payment and putting some things in that we would not have put in otherwise. Yes, but you're absolutely right, yes,
Just want to keep it real.
keep it real, yeah.
And in addition to having a significant fund balance, we need to say that out loud also.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. 11:40?
Before ready to go there, or?
No.
It's pretty much broken down on the sheet here, but if you have any question about any increase in all, please let us know. As we have been working on the maintenance mode, so there's nothing much new that we are purchasing. We are upgrading servers this year. This will be the 4th year that we are investing into it. It's just to have our high availability scenario continue to work. Other than that, everything is, there's some increase in, we had purchased our Chromebooks 4 years ago. We were able to manage them well. This year we would like to include another 100 into it, so that's another cost, that's what it is. We have been able to manage a good warranty on them, and we continue to use that warranty. But I think there was some need that they wanted to create some, I believe, whichever are left over when we buy some, they will still be used in the school for other purposes that they need to. So for example, typing program was one of the need for it, so we can bring some of them there. But,
And Chromebooks, typically we're finding have a 4-year lifespan, and then you can't use them for some things like smart balance testing.
Right, and that's exactly
Updates,
right.
yeah, so I think that 4-year
exactly.
is
So
really
the way,
important,
yeah, the way they've been cycled, I think we would have about 100 of them, which will be 4-year-old this year.
Any other
Could
questions?
you explain the increase in the internet line? Is that related to the fiber?
It is. We're having a heck of a time with fiber. We got to talking with both of the companies about doing the pole attachment, and they sent us a contract, and both Primex and the attorney said, you can't sign this contract. The liability limit is too high. There were some other considerations on guarantors. So we sent them back the contract, rewritten with what we were advised to do. And the response was, well, we've got to get this to legal now, and it's going to delay it for several months. And we said, well, then it's going to delay it several months because we can't sign this contract. The attorney said if the board is willing to accept the liability, it's $1 million, then sign the contract. I wasn't comfortable to even bring it to you. So that's where we are with it. We're moving ahead, but it's a snail's pace.
And this is the fiber from the SAU directly to the school?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So we have to have pole rental fees that are in there, and then increase in the TBS. And I've forgotten how much per month, but that's all calculated in there, and that's why it's higher.
Plus, we will have to hire a maintenance company in case of wire breaks down, if we can get to it. The company that we are working with will not provide that service. The initial investigation, there's a company in Laconia does that, and around, I think, 12-hour work time around is about, I think, 6,000 or 7,000. This is just a verbal cost that they have mentioned, but there'll be details in it, which I don't have here.
So I only pay when the fiber breaks, and I don't have a contract with anybody. We just call somebody to fix it.
Yeah.
Potentially that could be happening tonight. If the fiber, we don't think the fiber's down, but if they get the poles back up and the fiber was affected, then they're calling a repair service, and they'll be out tomorrow morning and they'll fix it. So, and it's about $3,000 to fix it, and that's happened. If it happens today, it'll be twice in 6 years in the entire city of Concord. So I think we don't contract with anybody to do that.
Okay.
Good to
Anything else for technology?
set.
Okay, Naeem. The next section is 1200, it's special education. And Pam can answer any of the questions that you have.
So, if you look at page 23, you'll see an addition in there for Medicaid doctor approval. And that's according to the emergency rule, now that we have to have doctors approve services for children that are Medicaid eligible. We're having to negotiate, with doctors, to get them to sign off on that. So I'm in the process right now of contacting doctors to see if they're interested in doing this. So we came up with a rate, $150 for an hour, and that's what we're hoping to get some doctors that will do that.
Or have the emergency rule change.
Yes, yes, we're praying that in February things change.
Yeah.
So that's a new addition there. Let's see. On page 24, you'll see preschool teapot evaluator. We've been a part of our social for the last 4 or 5 years. And this year, the leadership team is working to be able to stand on our own. And so one of the things that we will need for next year is to have somebody come in and do teapots for teachers. And it kind of measures where the teachers are. This is social emotional training that we're doing for kids. So they have a teapot in the fall and they have a teapot in the spring. And then we get the data to see if the kids have increased with their social emotional behaviors in a good way. And so that's what that's all about. The teapots would be for preschool and kindergarten teachers. And it takes about 6 to 8 hours to do one teapot for one teacher.
What does teapot stand for?
Teacher preschool observation tool. And so that's the increase there. Do you have any other questions?
Just in case we comment.
The small one and the big get my eyes.
Yeah.
I keep circling the one for the,
Me too.
okay, does that make sense? Like I'm like, oh, I circled it, wait, it's connected to the one
I've been
above.
working with it for 3 or 4 weeks and I still What line are we on? Yeah.
Look up, look up. I see bold when I go down.
So on professional services, there's a couple of lines for high school.
What page are you on?
So I'm on page 23, just start with, sorry, you know, the line numbers, for professional services.
Like the whole page.
So that line that's 65,000 is high school, correct?
Correct.
I'm just curious what the increase,
And so that is,
based on what we had spent in previous years.
right, that is, I met with the special director at the high school a couple of times to go over the budget. It's increase in service needs, mostly in the vocational section, as well as support for band trips, senior trips, and the other cost is the PT.
Do we have an idea what we expect to spend against budget this year? Or we don't know that?
But I could get that information for you.
And then they. So I don't think that's high school, right? The high school's in the line below that.
So they're both .03, so I think they're both high school, but for some reason it's cut off in the description, is that right? Are the 1.03 related to high school? I'm looking at a different page already. Yeah, that line is also 3.3. For some reason it's not in the description, that's high school, but is that high school, correct?
The one,
The one we just talked about?
the 53230, the 03,
Yeah,
that one, I think the description is underneath.
right. But it's high school, right?
Yeah, anything
Yes.
with O3 is high school.
That's high
There you
school.
go. Is that in-
Yeah, I was just, the two blocks are different. Alright,
See,
it's not, yeah, the, I think it's cause the text is closer to the block above it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a really
And
small,
also
the
the-
account number's small.
Yeah, the account numbers are way too small, you missed
Yeah.
that, those,
This is the program Laurie has tried tweaking and working, and this is what it is. We
Yeah.
don't like it. It is what it is. Then
anything else? Any other questions?
the next section is going to be the next one, 1205. That's special ed extended school year.
And the ESY, for our district, there's been an increase due to students being placed where they are.
so I'll just say, sort of the elephant in the room when it comes to ESY. It was cut and cut and cut and cut and cut over the last few years. What are your thoughts about that, coming in new to it? And I know parents all over town are upset because summer school was cut so dramatically and so inconsistent.
Yeah, my understanding is that, and what I've observed, is they do tutoring, sessions. I've seen, been in schools where they do the tutoring, like half-hour session, an hour session. I've also been in schools where, they have like a full session, so for kindergarten, they have 9 to 12, or they have two sessions, 8:30 to 10, and then 10:30 to 12. I've seen it done several ways. I'm not 100% sold on married to the tutoring session, because I've seen really good things happen to kids that have gone to summer school, especially where regression is a concern. And so during that 90-minute session, they get they work on their reading, they work on their math, they work on their writing. They also get their related services during that time. But I know that is expensive to get. So
We don't offer a Title I summer school program for even
No.
those kiddos, we don't offer that any longer.
We do not.
Cause I think that's also connected with the ESY piece, and part of the reason that stopped or that it changed, is because you didn't have other students there to support it. You know, school districts try to combine them, so if students are coming back more Title I kiddos, the ESY kiddos are all merged with them and they're pulled for their OT or their PT or their speech during those times, but there's a larger group of students to do activities and some direct instruction. So I think what we're seeing right now is just those kids who are getting individual math, reading, or OT, PT, speech, which does get to be, do you see an increase in transportation for any of those kiddos because they're so sporadic and needing to come for?
I did not look at the transportation piece, to be quite honest for that. But you know, I do know that preschool has a regular summer school program where the kids come. It's not tutoring based, and I know that the RISE program also has a regular summer school program.
You know, sometimes when you have kiddos that you have to transport in just for their speech twice a week, it's sometimes not the most cost-effective way to bring kids in, but didn't know if there, especially with our transportation issues, if that was ever balanced, looked at.
And you have to go on which students are gonna have significant regression, and so we have to hold it to that too. But I think in part to answer your question, Pam, about services to students, that given staffing changes, we are actively looking at that at the elementary school, that John is overseeing an audit right now to make sure that we are in compliance with everything that is written in IEPs. Part of the reason for our increase in budget is we put in for 2 more paras for next year. It's very possible that we're gonna have to find that money this year as well, but this is a different way to look at how IEPs were written, and so we wanna make sure that the services that were agreed upon in an IEP meeting are being met. And we're addressing that at the elementary school. We rely on the high school for what they're doing.
Any other questions?
Our next section then is a little skip. It's gonna be 2150. It's speech services, 2150.
So, we've had to increase our professional services for speech, for a speech assistant, due to student need.
Is that contracted out or part-time? I can't remember. Makes sense.
And
Have
the
you
la-
found that to be cost effective?
Oh,
I know a
yes.
couple of, contracting,
Yes, because an employee is their salary and all the benefits.
Right.
And if we need just someone for 15 hours a week, we can say, oh, well, we only particularly need 10 hours, so we contract just for 10
Yeah.
hours. And it is better for us, so. The last special ed section for Pam is 2722, it's near the end. It's transportation for special ed, 2722.
What you'll see in here, $1,000 for the rise for transportation. And it's anticipated that there'll be a 2.7% increase in the transportation cost.
I should know this, but what is RISE?
That is the program that Christine Gleaton has, and she has really complex kids in there, and they go out on field trips, and so they may go out to apple orchard and pick apples, and then they'll work on science, they'll work on writing, they'll incorporate all of that into that field trip. They've also had gardens that they've grown vegetables and flowers, and the flowers were beautiful this summer. I got an opportunity to see that, and I also got an opportunity to see all of the wonderful vegetables that they grew. And they were giving the vegetables to homeless families so that they could have fresh vegetables. So she deals with kids that have really complex needs.
It's an acronym for.
Yeah, it's just an individual
individual
acronym.
student. I don't remember the acronym, but it's a good life skills program.
Student education.
What is it?
reaching individual student education, I'm not 100%
So
on
life
that
skills
one.
program.
Yes, exactly, it's life skills.
Yes.
Life skills, yeah.
Yeah,
Reaching independence through structured,
Yes, education,
I think so.
there it
Reaching
is.
independence through structured education, took me a few
High
minutes.
five, Sandy, high five.
Alright.
That was something
Nice
that
job.
we're budgeting based on needs that we know. Do we have the information of what parts of the last couple of years' fund balance have been related to special ed, just as a point of reference?
We do. Do you want that right now, please?
We do have that.
Think about where it is. So, I can go back to 15-16 for, savings from special ed was 150,000. In 16-17, it was 81,000. In 17-18, it looks like it was, 100,000. In 18-19, it was 158.
I just think that would be handy to have.
Oh. I think I'm gonna probably ask to sit down with Pam before budget meeting, just cause they're grilling me on things that I'm not anticipating, but I'll take that.
Well,
And we have some kind of trust, right?
Special education.
Yeah.
we do have an expendable trust for special ed. And it has in it,
I heard it, so going on.
it has in it $299,760.
Where was it again?
$299,760 for special ed trust.
When was the last time we removed any money from that?
Removed?
We used,
That's before my time. I don't have anything that goes back that shows any withdrawals from it.
I don't think it was established too long before you.
It says FY 88.
FY 88?
Yeah.
Oh. We didn't use it for a long.
Well, I think we also haven't put into it for a couple of years because we decided not to.
Right, because you're at 300,000, yeah. But yes, it does say FY 88.
And will so Medicaid issues our revenues, they won't affect our special ed budget, they would affect the bottom line.
They
That be
affect the
activated.
tax revenues are turned back to the town. Yes.
It feels to me like without talking about cutting any programs, nothing like that, it just feels to me like special ed is an area where maybe we could dial back a bit, possibly looking at that trust as a cover for us, and then, and kind of see where that goes for a year. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
I'm
That's where you were
That was
going.
my question,
Yeah.
that's my direction, yeah.
Yeah,
I was just trying to go back and look at percentage wise what the 299 would be, but.
without, definitely not looking to cut programs or cut,
Right, no, I
none of
understand.
these initiatives,
Yeah.
it just feels like we're padding, we could afford maybe not to have so much.
Well, and remember that of those monies that are returned from special ed, good portions of them are from the high school. It's not all the elementary school
Yeah.
as well, so,
No, we understand
Okay.
it.
but I hear what you're saying.
We understand that, it just gets to be really difficult
I
when
know.
you're facing the
I know.
community and
Yep.
we're seeing this much money returned, we do have an expendable trust fund in place in case we do go over. I know you do a good job with a zero base, and believe me, working in education, I know Some special ed students are our most transient students for whatever particular reason, and so they come in November and they leave in March and they, I get it. But it is hard to look at budget committees, and especially when we have a trust fund that if we haven't touched it in a very long time and we're constantly returning money to the town, that may be one area we look at. Just saying.
So if we were, first of all, do you have some sense as to how much you'd like to cut it back?
Well, I wouldn't wanna cut any new salaries or any new, increase in contractors like the, speech assistant, I wouldn't wanna.
Oh, no, I'm thinking we're gonna take it out of the district.
Well, and that's kind of one of those pieces that, and also just to be careful, cause I know our default budget connects to our contracts, correct? So contracted services, I don't wanna shortchange us on a default line, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm getting nods, so we're speaking the same language. So, and out of districts are contracts.
I mean, it seems like if you look at the out of district line, it's budgeted for 186, which is up 55 or 56. Because we have no
There's a court appointed school that we will be responsible for many years to come.
And that's our current the anticipated contract
Yes,
for that student, so that's okay.
well, that's cap, because it's court.
Yeah,
If we were looking for a place to cut, it would be a good idea to look at the out-of-district line, because that's so volatile.
Right.
I mean,
and that's, part of me would say yes, if that's your recommendation to look there. I'm just making sure that we don't hurt ourselves in a default. Is that a fair statement, that could, if we take it out of this line now, would we be able to include it in our default budget line as we're preparing that default budget?
We have to put in our contracts.
Correct.
So anything that's a contract we can put in.
Okay,
The thing is, this is going forward for next year. If we have a tuition that comes up that bumps us to 200,000, and we've cut this line to 100,000, we have the expendable trust, and then when we go in and create the next, like 21-22 budget, we're gonna increase that line and put some money in it, or we're gonna do a warrant and put more money in the expendable trust.
okay.
So I think either way, we're gonna always find the money. I mean, that's what we
Well,
have to
and
do.
I'm trusting your
But I
judgment
understand what
on
you're
that, but I
saying,
just wanna make sure, cause I know default budgets are very tricky right now, what goes into them, what doesn't go into them, and I know contracted services, so if we're cutting, and that's why I definitely don't go anywhere near any of our speech, or leave those alone,
Yeah, we
cause
wouldn't
those
wanna
are,
touch those.
don't touch those. But out of districts are also a contract, so I just wanna make sure we are not shooting ourselves in the foot with that particular piece, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but we would.
We wouldn't be, okay, then that was, I just,
Yeah.
full
Well,
transparency,
it'll be the
right?
first time that our default was higher than our,
Right,
Right,
or parts of our default were
Right.
higher than
Right.
our,
correct.
correct,
so.
I'm gonna trust your judgment on that, but at least I wanted to put it on the
Yeah,
table
I
that.
think if we look at, even on the low side of the fund balance, say it's pretty safe to say 100,000 is where we've been on a fund balance for sped. And, having that expendable trust there, it seems like we could take some leeway on cutting back something out of our district and have the backup source for it.
If you pull
we have-
100,000
if we
out of your
have-
budget and we've got 300 to fall back on if we end up with a problem, that's reasonable. Especially
Better
where you've
fund we
returned
could
that
do.
much.
We could vote to move monies in, could we vote to move monies into that at the end of the year if there were funds available to?
Into an expendable trust,
Mhm.
yes, you
Yeah.
can do it at the end of the year, but then you have to have a
It has to be on the ballot.
Right.
Has to be on
So
the
we can't
ballot,
do it
or
at
it
the
can't
end
do
of-
it
It's gotta be
on
on the ballot.
Oh,
So we cannot do it at the end of the year,
okay.
sorry.
But if it's one that we've removed money from it, then the next year that could be done, correct?
That's right, then we make a
Right, to
warrant
replace it,
and
To
we
replace
have
it.
money put in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, so what if, I'm on page 24. What if we brought down the bottom two lines, just to make this easy to look at? The second from the bottom has $186,000 in it. Okay, what if we bring that down to the actual expended from this past year of 119? Okay, so
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
$66,000 savings there. And then the next line has 128,417. If we fund that at the actual expended of 107,372, that's another 21,000. So there's 87,000 that is saved. And you know, we could take some out of other professional services, but those are para salaries.
Yeah, I don't wanna take
No.
the salaries.
No,
And
yeah.
that's,
We need those people.
yeah.
But that's 100 and,
That's
87,
87,000.
just close to that 1,000 we just threw out there, so.
The other one, if we wanna get it a little bit higher, which I think we're safe in doing, is the page just before that, under professional services. The actual expenditure was 33,700. If you wanted to, you know, make the 65, 35, there's another 30. Our expenditure though was 34. 33,792.
yeah. Well, you know, the doctor's in there, but that's only $5,400.
And we budgeted for it because that was the right thing to do, but we don't even know, number one, will the emergency rule still be in existence in 2020? And will we ever be able to find a doctor who will be comfortable just saying, oh yeah, let me sign off on all these IUPs?
Considering how political that issue is, I think it's worth leaving that in because,
yeah.
because it's public and it's visible and it needs to be explained to the world what we're dealing with, but maybe there are other areas you can.
What was our actual expenditures for BCBA's? Are you,
Pam's got that.
So the BCBA, the reason that there's an increase there is, I went back 2 years and saw what the increase was, and we've had 7 kids move into our district since September, since the beginning of September, that have needed, 3 of them are,
needed FBA's and stuff?
and they need a BCBA.
Okay.
So, I looked back at what the current rate is and what they charged us and what the increase was each year, and so I added on the increase, because I don't know exactly how much of an increase it's gonna be because these 3 kids have just moved in, but I do know that there will be an increase.
Right, but for this year under our current operating, is that what you're talking about, the 7 kids that just moved in, you're having?
3 of those 7 need BCBA services.
Okay.
3 are really complex.
Okay.
Just a question on the parallel, since we're budgeting for 4 vacancies, are those recently vacated positions or have they been vacant for a while?
No, one for the elementary school is vacant, came vacant right at the beginning of the school year. She resigned. And then we've added 2 more in that were not there in anticipation of meeting more needs.
So then the other 3 on the list are for the high school?
They-
There are 3 vacancies on, I'm looking at
On the top sheet.
the top sheet. On the budget side.
So there's 1 vacancy that you see on the left there, that's the elementary school. And then there's 3 on the other side. That's the 1 vacancy we do have in the anticipation of 2 new ones. I don't see
I mean those three vacant, the three on the budget side, just the three. that are-
Yes, it's the one that is currently vacant and the two we're adding in for more services. They are not currently in this year's budget. You know, one other suggestion, if you want to trim away at special ed without impacting those kinds of questions, under 2721 transportation, I think we might be able to find some savings there. Our actual expenditures are under, and even with an increase in the bus contract, if we wanted to take some general funds, take $20,000 or so off of the proposed budget of the 168,401 and bring it down closer to the actual expenditure. If we run short of that line, we're gonna find, we're gonna transport it, so. But that way, it's just a different function, but it's still special ed. And then we're at 100,000. Okay. So we'll make the 168,401 to 148.
Thank you.
And Pam, we'll get you a little taxi sign and put it right on your car.
I have a big enough vehicle, I can do that.
I'm sure you have a lot to look at this year, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of your analysis as you go forward.
Well, it's a great group of people that I'm working with.
Yes, they are.
They're very, very supportive of each other, the students, and they've been wonderful and welcoming, so welcoming. It's been great.
Nice to have you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
The next section is building maintenance, 2,600. 2,600.
This brought up a question for me that doesn't really apply to this option, but just where we're seeing the big increase in workers' comp in every department.
Workers' comp premium is actually calculated out based upon the salary, so there'll be some lines that do go down and some lines that are going up.
Yeah, I seem to have seen like a 50% increase in most areas, so we can come back to that, I just didn't wanna miss it. I had it
Yeah,
highlighted
you'll see
here.
a big decrease, because it's based upon salaries. So, the annual,
Yeah, here it's a decrease, but in
Right.
other sections it's a significant increase.
it's based upon a factor and based upon the budgeted salaries.
So we don't have any premium.
So, we do, premium, let's see here, premium is about 27,000. And, we should be getting revised premiums here any day now from Primex. So this is based upon current year's premium.
What was the change we had last year from year one? I don't know.
Well, for workers' comp,
The premium.
I don't, Laura, do you have that?
So last year, we gross budgeted for it, but you're gonna see that we expended much less because we had a premium holiday, probably of about $12,000. So that's why what's spent last year is much lower.
Well, didn't we decide to pull workers' comp into a different, its own line item, I thought? We did that.
Unemployment.
2,900.
Yeah, that's unemployment.
I thought we did that for workers' comp too, when I was back at a summary, so that we could look at it as a.
Workers' comp is connected to the individual salaries, so that's why it's under the salary lines. But the unemployment is one bill. Am I saying that right?
Exactly.
And so that's why unemployment was taken out and put all in its own line, but workers' comp, because it's connected to individual salaries, has remained in the different functions that have
That's
salaries.
correct. Yes.
So do we have any idea what we're anticipating for a change, or any idea?
I don't, actually, I think all of that is, it may have just been released today, so I can go and check online. I think it was mid-October that they were gonna be released on it. We've had a really good claims history, so I'm not seeing that, not, you know, especially where we got a premium holiday last year, that premiums would be, increasing exponentially.
Sorry, Sean, sorry to divert.
Sure, no problem. Alright. So, we're anticipating a few projects that we'd like to do for next year. One is finish up the gymnasium phase with totally sanding down the gym floor and restaining it and adding the new school logo, as well as restriping everything in there and staining the keys to make it look more up to date like the rest of the gym is doing. And along with that, we're also looking to change the bleachers out in there, because the current bleachers are just starting to get worn, they're starting to show a lot of wear. They're very difficult to move in and out. You know, sometimes it takes up to three guys in the mornings to pull them out. Myself, Robbie, and Dan. And upon our last inspection, the inspector said that we're starting to see some signs of wear and things are starting to bend in a little bit. And from what I'm understanding is that all the plastic seating is starting to become very loose, and we'll have to hold them together with screws on the sides. So it's
I'm glad, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no. So going by the inspection and just from what we've seen with them, they're really in need to get replaced.
So, they're not super old, just so you know.
Yeah.
They were replaced during my time when I was teaching there. They took out wooden ones and put those in.
Yeah.
We've always had issues because people are not supposed to sit
So when they
on them when they're folded, which is why the infrastructure on the inside of them have been slowly but surely breaking apart, because they are not supposed to ever be sat on when they're folded. So as you're looking at replacing them, if we can make sure that, I doubt we're gonna get people to stop sitting on them when they're folded, so if we can make sure that whatever system we're putting in will withstand people not following signs, or just with the understanding that they're gonna sit.
Yeah, the new ones that we're looking to put in are reinforced much better. It's a newer technology in the design, and it's a thicker gauge metal. So, you know, and it's also thicker plastic, so they're not gonna be, the plastic seats aren't gonna be blowing apart at the sides and pinching you, shall we say.
Yeah, the ones that they replaced were beautiful wooden ones that actually were fine. It was an aesthetic upgrade to the gym, so they actually, Peter's nodding over there, cause do you remember they were much more comfortable and beautiful wooden.
Wouldn't say they were beautiful.
Well, I guess maybe I think beautiful
Natural.
compared to the blue
If
plastic
they were
ones that
beautiful, we wouldn't have done an aesthetic upgrade.
Well, we also painted the hallways yellow and peach. If you remember, we had an interior designer come in, and the hallways were yellow with peach lockers. So, you know, some of you.
Is this the 90s?
This was, yeah, well, this must have been like 1999, maybe 2000. We had an interior designer came in. Every section of the building was different colors, but the gym was one where we had some color schemes and stuff.
Some glass block and neon too.
Oh,
I found some peach in my time of doing some repairs. You'll see some of the paint in there.
yeah, it was peach and yellow.
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
brighten
well,
up.
the biggest thing is that, they're almost always pushed up against the wall
Yeah.
when they're not in use. And they're kids, they like to jump on them, they like to climb on them, and they like to run on them. And then after the school day, when it's being used for things like basketball or adult volleyball or whatever, again, they're stored up against the wall, where people throw their stuff on them or they sit on them, and I think there just needs to be a habit of keeping them out
Yeah.
in the proper way, and then when we need to put them up because we're playing basketball on the two side hoops, you know, on the side direction, then they get put up, but just leave them out.
Have we ever contemplated, especially if you're looking at redoing the floor? Actually, it might be too hard to do that with where the hoops are, so. No, it's one of those, like I know the high school has much higher ones, so once they're pushed in, nobody's climbing up to the top. And honestly, as a phys ed teacher, I missed having a wall to
Yeah.
actually do anything against, but where our hoops are located, it wouldn't be feasible to put just one big section.
Already thought of that
And
myself,
so
yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
oh, never mind, you
if
have,
we even got a set of bleachers that has 4 more tiers up,
mhm.
you're still not gaining anything because of you taking one side out, but now you're just adding it onto the other. And then there is a certain code that the rise and the run have to be.
Yep.
We looked at even adding just one additional row to see if we could increase seating there and get, you know, because right now we have kids, if we have the entire school pre-K through 8 in there, we do have a couple grade levels that are on mats on the floor. And so when Sean and I looked at this, we looked at to see, you know, hey, can we add like another row? We could probably fit the kids if we did another row across the whole gym.
It's already tight to the volleyball square.
Right, which, that was why, and you wouldn't be able to move any of those, but I know sometimes the height that they're in there prevents people, just, you know, as you're looking at it, I know that we're not gonna keep people off of them, or we try to keep them out a little bit, and
The other thinking is, you know, speaking of Primex and workers' comp, is these would be motorized, so we wouldn't have guys wrenching their backs trying to get these things out. And if you look at like the ones that are currently, they're actually, when you pull them out, they're digging into the floor. You can see.
well, you can't put them in and out on your own
Well,
usually,
that's
because you also have to twist and move at the same.
that's the other benefit too, is all my nighttime staff would be trained on, I mean, simple operation, pushing a button, but that way we could, you know, keep an eye on it and have them open them back up right after the event, whether it be basketball, volleyball, pickleball.
Yeah.
So
I'm not in disagreement
Oh,
that
no.
the ones that are in there need to come out, but they're not super old, and there will probably be some people in the community who know
yeah,
that they're not super old, but we just have to, I agree they need to be replaced, but they're relatively new for bleachers.
yeah.
Let's just replace them with the right one.
Well, that's.
And that's what
that
we're
was
doing,
my-
yeah. I mean, I did do my homework on it,
Yeah,
and I've talked
sure you
with a couple different people, and found out the disadvantages of the current ones, even though, you know, they're not that old. The design's not even, they're not even doing that design anymore, it's discontinued.
Yeah.
So all those factors are also put into consideration for that. Okay, and then another thing we're looking to do is the Pine Street paving on the side of the school. That is just, that's in rough shape. And to plow it, to do anything with it, even people walking there, it's a there's some trip hazards, cause it's, you know, frankly, a bunch of potholes holding hands at this point. So, it's, it really does need to be paved. Let's see.
What line is that? It's on page 73.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about paving the road or
The side parking lot, where,
okay, I was
where
like,
the alleys are.
What's that overall function is, yeah.
I just wanna make, you know, we're not trying to pave public roads, we're taking care of our parking lot on the Pine Street side.
Yeah, the public, the
So,
town would take care
I
of
just
it.
wanna make sure that the language is in there correctly, if anybody's listening and they hear Pine Street paving and not understand, well,
Yep, that's, yeah, absolutely.
I'm just thinking of somebody who watches this and says, oh wait, why are we, yeah, got it,
Pine
Perfect.
Street alleyways.
yes.
Yes.
That, something along those keys, so it doesn't say Pine Street paving.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not
We're not
paying to have public roads
Yeah.
maintained.
We are not.
And, yeah, I mean, it's well overdue. And then another thing that we are looking to do is replace the, buildings and grounds truck. It is starting to show its age. We are replacing rocker panels every year on it. We're sinking in a good amount of money every year to it for repairs. It's failed on us a few times when we've needed it, so one of the things we're looking to do is purchase a newer vehicle.
I don't see it in here,
Oh,
what,
it's on page 76.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, I apologize.
That's okay, you just,
On page 76, it's in the list of equipment at the top of the page on the left, and you'll see replacement schoolwork truck towards the bottom of the list.
How old is the current truck?
so that same white truck that's,
Yes.
11 and 12 years old now.
Yeah.
but it,
I think it's 9, isn't
we
it?
didn't buy it new though, did we?
No,
I
no, we
don't
bought it
believe
at
we did.
Tim's Capital, Truck Capital.
I just wanna go on record as saying I'm not opposed to leasing like certain other former members of the board, if it comes up.
I don't think we've costed out leasing versus owning.
No, and I don't know how that would work as a lease for a plow vehicle.
Right,
Oh.
that's the problem.
You know, because being in maintenance
They
and,
get beat up.
yeah, we're putting,
Yeah.
we might be putting different types of earth in the back, we plow with it, we tow with it. So I don't know, the details on a lease for that.
Okay.
You would be required to have a non-appropriation clause if you did lease a vehicle.
Yeah, everything, yeah.
Any other questions?
No questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
We're going to go back to enrichment, 1280. And Shay can answer your questions.
Is there anything significant, this looks,
It's very
Flat.
similar, it's
Yeah.
pretty flat, yeah. We are trying to get, a wider variety of after-school enrichment offerings. We sent out a survey at the end of last year. We increased the number of arts and craft project-based activities based on student input. And so we haven't really spent all of our budget. We haven't needed more than our budget the last couple of years, so that should be pretty similar.
this isn't enrichment, but a year ago we talked about an after-school program. And then I never heard anything more about
Okay.
the possibility. We talked about looking into a after-school program for kids who need a consistent place to be every single day. Something that's paid or
The biggest thing that stands in the way and that we have to figure out how to solve is space needs, where do we put them after school? The cafeteria is being used, ELT and after school programs, the library is being used, and the gym with sports. And so to have a space, because my own kids in a different district participated in that.
Yeah.
You need a place for them to run around in all weather, and we just don't have the facilities. You need space for them to eat and do all of that.
That's too bad. Such a
It's a high
big
need
issue,
in our
yeah, it's
community.
a huge need in our community, if we could figure something out. Even if we I don't know.
Because programs like that would go probably till 6 o'clock, because you're talking about parents coming home from work and picking them up.
That's what we have that in Hooks, it's called New Mornings, it's actually before and after care.
That is great.
Yeah, they come in.
There is a
and run
committee
it.
looking to put up a rec center in town.
You know, that would be a fantastic option, cause Shay's absolutely right with our space. Our building, we're using every last inch of that building
Right.
at this point.
What about the high, I don't know. The high school has more space overall.
I can't speak on that, but.
But, yeah, it is such a huge need. I wish we could get creative.
Like the kids are doing like early childhood
Yeah,
studies and.
we could pay high school, we couldn't pay high school students, but.
I believe Salem might do that. I don't know if they do it. In the past, they've done that where they had through the vote they had like early childhood kids that would basically run under the supervision of the staff, but they had a program just like that at the high school. I don't know if we have the facilities, the prospect to do that or not. I mean, that could definitely be something too.
Yeah, but they have a lot of, if the classrooms are big and the hallways are big and there could be a lot of space that's not necessarily like the cafeteria or the gym, not necessarily common spaces, but just classroom spaces.
It's hard too to do it in classrooms with some experience in there, that you use classrooms and somebody gets into the teacher's things on their desk and it makes bad will, and it's so much easier to do in a gym or cafeteria. You don't run into that. We can keep looking at it though, and I do recall the conversation, and we'll keep looking at it.
And if we redo our own cafeteria, maybe something, if that area
Right.
gets restructured and redone, we may have
Right.
more usable space that could also be a selling point as we're talking about the cafeteria, I'm throwing, this is a last second brainstorm, but if we're talking about remodeling our cafeteria and we're looking at what it could possibly hold or feature, that may be another piece for the community to have a vested interest in that space, because we would be able to use it for something else to meet community needs. So I don't know.
Or if we did the charter school and that was a building where we could bus them after school and use that or something.
But I know the cafeteria is on our current warrant article list, so if you would look at that as possibly even a 3-phase, because it'll take 2 years to get it complete, but if it's in the works that we're looking at, piloting a program in that new space in a couple of years, it may help with us being able to, it's not just for our kids to eat and have now, but it could also be used for another community need. Just a thought.
Oh, absolutely. You good on your results?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, are there any areas where we did the survey of the kids, are there any areas they were interested that we were missing?
Video games. Lots and lots of requests.
They can go home and do that.
Well,
That's what my kids do.
do they wanna play video games or create video games?
Play.
Okay.
They wanted gaming clubs.
Minecraft, like we do a huge Minecraft club after school in Concord.
Well, it would be interesting to see, cause I know, I laugh a little bit at the high school robotics team, because some of the controller for the robot is an Xbox controller.
Absolutely.
So some of our very best drivers are kids who have spent some time, actually the ones who are our best are kids who are both soccer players and video gamers, cause they have the ability to see the field like a soccer player, but run the controller like a gamer. So there's this weird overlap. So there are benefits to that hand-eye coordination, but I don't know, I'd love to see them do some creation of.
Yeah, that's why Minecraft is a good one, something more structured or VR type of stuff.
We just have to have staff who would wanna do that too.
Yeah.
And kind of,
So were there any
somebody
areas
staff
where
who
there's
can do that.
interest from the kids, but we were lacking the staff to
Well,
run?
that would be the biggest area. Yeah.
And have we reached out to the community also to try to find staff?
No, we haven't, we can do that.
Yeah, I think we talked
computer
about that.
teachers not interested?
He's doing it as, he's offering some things for electives.
Okay.
Some intro to programming and, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Trying to
that's
think,
something
there
we've
might be a-
discussed a few times, you know, is in a part of our strategic plan is connecting more with the community, so if kids have activities they wanna do, I think we should reach out just like we would for coaches.
Yeah, there may be some
Yeah.
students who are like at NHTI right now and living at home with mom and dad that might be interested in something.
Taking online courses, because chances are they're
Mm-hmm.
tech savvy and they may be traveling.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see us do the same process we do for, when we're looking for athletic coaches, we obviously don't get those all in-house and we reach out for that, we can do extracurricular too.
We'll look at it. Definitely.
Any other questions?
Summer school, it's a tough one for Shay. It is 1430. Yes, 1430. There you go.
Alright.
We pay for this through a grant, and that's why it's $1.
Good job, Shane.
Thank you. That was a tough one.
I was really confused for a second, I'm like, why is this tough? Stop it, I wasn't ready for your sales.
So we go back to the beginning, 1100, regular education.
Gotta leave in about 20 minutes, half an hour-ish.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Some of these other ones are very short though,
Okay.
very short.
And I am assuming my 15-minute content will be faster than the rest of the time it takes. But I just know how to spell assume.
Is that okay?
So I think, in the 1100s, our biggest curriculum initiative, last year and this year has been the new literacy program. And that's where you'll see, most of the curriculum changes, or changes related to curriculum items. We have brought in the Units of Study, which is a writing workshop program out of Columbia University. And so some of these supplies are directly related to what teachers need to be able to teach effectively. We also, we bought quite a few of the kits, they actually come in kits. For writing, we budgeted for a few more for this coming year because of staff changes and when a school is new to the Units of Study, they suggest you back up a year or two and you move the kits around a little bit. You don't just walk in third grade with third graders never having had that writing workshop experience and teach third grade. There's some introductory kits, so we've budgeted for the difference there. We've also budgeted for reading workshop kits for next year. And then we've also done foundations, the phonics unit for grades K through 3. And we were able to purchase most of those kits this past year in pilot, and you'll see some additional kits in there for this coming year. So all of the K through 3 teachers will be up and running at that next year, including our special ed teachers and Title I team. It's all integrated fully across the building. You'll also see we now have a unified vocabulary program for grades 4 through 8. So you'll see money in there for workbooks there.
Going back to my workers' comp question. I'm just curious why we're budgeting 50% increase when we think our experience is good, and in this category, I wouldn't expect that the number of people has changed that much.
So it's all driven on salary. So what I've done to take the annual premium is looking at all the general fund salaries and coming up with a factor and then dividing it out over by those salaries. So if the salaries are up 57,000, there would be an increase.
But they aren't, are they? I mean, they're up 60 there, and there.
Right.
So they're up 60 in the first page.
So salaries are up 57,000.
It just seems like a big jump.
I think that we should,
I'm concerned we're over budgeting on workers' comp, I guess is my point.
we're gonna revisit workers' comp, do out the calculations, and when we bring back the final budget to you in November, we'll have an answer for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
New math textbooks, middle school, yes?
We're currently using Math and Focus, and it's not appropriately aligned to the Common Core state standards. And we're looking at our middle school state test scores, which are low, and the struggle that our middle school math teachers are having aligning what's happening in Math and Focus to Common Core and to the state test. Aligning it across those three areas. And we're going to look at piloting a better math program just at the middle school for this coming year. To pilot this year, next year adopt at the middle school, then the year after K through 4, just because our K through 4 teachers are learning a new phonics system and writing and reading workshop. And we thought tossing a new math program on top of that would be not beneficial for that.
No, that's a lot. Although much of the state is struggling mathematically, I just met with Julie Couch this morning for quite a while and going over our school district's test scores, and it's statewide.
Yes.
And math is a concern for.
True, but we can do better.
Oh, I'm not saying that we can't. I'm saying that this is a good, and what we're finding with programs is everybody wants to do things with fidelity, so they try to do K through 8, or they try to, and we're finding success with some programs that they're written very well for K4, but they're not so great for 5-8. I know our mission is to be able to teach, but at the same time, we may not.
Exactly.
So I wanna be open to for the next year, like if it really works for our middle school,
Exactly.
just be cautious that I'm not 100% certain it's gonna work for the
And
little.
what a lot of the math research is saying too, it's not so much the program, it's the math instructional practices.
Correct.
And so we need programs that allow for those really good instructional practices for the teachers, and that's gonna look different at the different grade levels.
Right, and the workshop and the time to do that, and,
Yes.
I don't mean to jump backwards on you, but are you finding that particularly with our new literacy curriculum, that you're having the staff that you need to make it work? And I'm only asking because this is personal, because my daughter mentioned that she had 2 different teachers, one for reading, one for writing, and now she's suddenly with one. So
No,
good
this is
question.
No,
I just wanna make sure you have the staff
we do,
appropriate to
thank you.
meet.
We do.
This is,
Okay.
that's a really good question. So, K through 4, the units of study, they're written for classroom teachers who have the same group of students all day.
Okay.
So they have a dedicated writing time and a dedicated reading time. You get to the middle school level, and you have some middle schools who break out reading and writing, so they have 2 sections of literacy. And so you have, and then you have other middle schools that have 1 section of ELA with a combined reading and writing. And so what the program has are 2 separate recommendations for middle schools who do it one way, middle schools who do it the other. We tried to do it to break it out,
Okay.
and that just, the time constraints that we had, having to shorten periods to fit in an extra one and have teachers double up and teach, that just didn't work for us. So we've gone back to the other model, and it seems to be a lot better. And we're
putting them together?
putting them together.
Okay, because 6th grade has them apart, right?
No, they put them back together.
They just made.
Oh, since the beginning of the year.
We did it at the end of September. We switched. We tried.
Did she have the same teacher for both though?
No, she had
Okay.
different teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the request came from the teachers
Yes.
and during the institute, and the
Right.
teachers saying, oh, we
Because
only had
in
2
an
separate times.
In an ideal world, our kids would get an hour of reading and an hour of writing. That's ideal, and so we were trying, well, can we make it work? And there's too many people running around, it just wasn't good for staff or students.
Okay.
And so-
I found a staff to do it, you need more
Yeah.
time for that, we are gonna make it work. And we got people,
Yes.
we made the
Okay.
schedule work and it was great, and then the teachers ironically came back about 2 weeks later and went, oh, we can't do this anymore, this is not working, we gotta go back to the real schedule. That's okay.
In theory, it was a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work to get it to happen. We did have the staff to make it happen. We did have the time to make it happen. It just,
What we did build into the schedule this year that we've kept is a reading block.
yes.
Okay.
So
that's
all
fine.
of our middle schoolers have a half hour of sustained silent reading. And they're sitting in a room with all of the teachers, and the teachers are reading to alongside of them. Teachers are sharing books, and we do vocabulary, a little mini vocabulary lesson in the beginning, and then they're reading.
Okay.
And that is getting a lot of really positive feedback. Kids are spending more time with texts.
Good. No, it was just, I wanted to make sure that whatever programs that we're implementing, we have the staff to balance that and also to be looking at, there are some programs out there my school district just did My Math. We piloted it, our staff liked it, but we also liked it because it fit into a school year. There were some programs that we really liked, but we realized to be able to reach, the standard that we wanted to, we'd almost have to extend our school year by, quite a bit of time. And,
Yes.
so I just wanna make sure that whatever we're putting in place for curriculum, that we have the staff to meet that
That's a
need.
very good point. Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that was a balance.
Do we have any idea what the fund balance in this function has been?
Of which one?
In 1100. Yeah, 1100.
What the fun?
In 1100.
I don't
The
know.
fund balance the last couple of years has been.
Oh, I don't
Okay.
have that.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Yep.
We've added 100,000 this year, last year we added 130,000, but enrollment has declined. So what is our explanation when the budget committee asks, why isn't this function declining with enrollment?
Because we have analyzed our data and found that because we did not have, not a consistent, we had no literacy program at all at the school. We had no consistency with math instruction. We had no consistency with science instruction. And over the last 2 years, we have taken a hard look at that and said that's unacceptable. And we have put in a literacy program that requires reading books, not only individual, but in groups, in clusters. It requires text and teaching materials for teachers, that goes beyond just the basal reader. And so 1,100 is up because in much part, because we're doing curriculum implementation correctly.
And we're making sure that, not just the littles in our building have text at their level, but we have high interest text at all levels for our older kids too. So instead of reading class novels at one level and the whole class is doing it, we're doing it thematically, so we're offering multiple choices to be able to hit all ranges of reading levels in all of our classes.
And I think you've done some adjustments too, like moving software from technology line into 1100.
That's
I saw the
absolutely
copiers
true.
in there,
Yes.
you know, so it looks like you've done some moving of things around.
That
I
has
remember
been
that
a
was a couple of years
concerted
ago.
Yes, concerted effort to take things out of what were in technology. All of the software was in technology, but there was reading and math and science in there too. We've taken that out, we put it into the 1100s where it belongs.
I feel like furniture used to all be under the facilities.
Absolutely,
budget,
took
right?
that out.
Yeah.
And now it goes into the 1100. We're also making the move. We haven't quite gotten there this year, but we're going to get to the point next year where furniture is going to be in the 1100. It's for classrooms, furniture. It's not gonna be science furniture and math furniture. It's gonna be furniture, and that's it. And we don't need breakout lines for that.
Did tuition for professional development move around in some functions because it seemed like there were a lot of changes on those lines? Or is it just happened to be changes in those functions?
It might have just been changes, but I don't know.
I just wanna make sure there
exactly.
wasn't a change in the way lines were handled.
For professional development, I
For
don't think
tuition,
so.
no, okay.
No.
Because I'm back, I'm a devil's advocate.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm
I'm
here.
that person at deliberative session. So you've done all these increases, you've done all these curriculum changes and focuses, so have your test scores gone up?
Not yet, but,
Mr. Clay.
yeah, not
Just
yet.
saying.
So I saw the dump the other day,
I'm
but.
just, I'm getting the
We've
question.
just started the new program. The skills are gonna be built over time, and we will start seeing the increases, but we've just started putting these programs in. Gotta start somewhere.
We will be having a literacy night in the spring where we'll have student work on display, so members of the community can come in and see what we're doing.
Under the software line, has there been any discussion about using the New Hampshire SAS, the AR, that's all no charge, all their modules and interim assessments instead of NWEA across the board? Obviously, we can't have our students take it below grade 3, but I know this has been a topic of conversation that the state
Yes.
is, and with their new, with the fact that we'll be able to pull student data, we can keep track of individual students because they're not redoing those numbers. That's a feature that NWA is great because you can pull it up and look at a student for the last,
Right.
3, 4, 5 years, which the New Hampshire SAS you haven't been able to, but now it can, so.
You actually seeing that feature yet? Because they promised that years ago.
Well, they couldn't, so honestly, the reason they couldn't do it is because the state is not allowed to sell or to give authorization. An individual school district can give authorization to NWA to keep student data, so that's why they can track it. The state cannot give permission to AIR to do that. They just changed that this summer, that now the state can give AIR permission to keep that data, so now we can see how students do from year to year, and use those benchmark modules. And do we know how many of these programs are being used?
Oh, yeah, they are being used.
Okay,
Right on
I just-
top of that. Oh, yes.
Okay,
We did a purging a couple years ago and went through, and this is not being used, take it out, take it out. And the ones that are in there are being used, and Shay's on top of that.
okay,
Oh,
cause
yes.
sometimes I feel that that's an area that one teacher in particular likes, and then we seem to purchase it for everybody, but yet only one teacher
We stopped
It
that.
seems to use, okay.
I can say it was.
That's how it was when I walked in here, into this position, and I went through everything we had and checked even checked the data online, and I cut stuff that wasn't being used. And I put out last year and then this year, just what do you use in your classroom, we'll make sure we get it for you, but
Okay.
what do you use? And that's that's reflected here.
Thank you.
I'm just mentoring displaying student work and deliberative session. Have you ever thought about displaying student work at deliberative session? I mean, I know it's not that well attended, so it kind of influences the effort put in, but it would be nice to have something.
A couple years ago, we did a slideshow where when people were coming in, that was shown on the screen. And we certainly can do that, that's an easy thing to do. Student work is also on display here at the library. And it's on display at the SAU as well. So, and I know Shay's tried to get it in other places, it seems tougher to do.
Yeah, that's no small feat in this town, is getting things up in the community from the school.
But we can absolutely bring it back to deliberative session, absolutely.
We could not even get it in town hall.
What was the reason?
Not enough wall space, they wouldn't have a place to put it. And then we walked into, what was that meeting, the budget meeting? And we see all this wall space.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh,
that was-
yes.
But that's what I was told, I talked to a couple different people at the town hall.
Anything else? 1100?
The next one is 1410, co-curricular activities. Very similar to last year.
Anything to say on this? Anything that we want?
1420 is next student athletics. Russ does a great job of breaking down, how many coaches, the different sports, what he needs, and provides great backup for that.
Are we able to fill most of these positions?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so-
they're filled.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All the coaching positions?
Yeah,
Oh,
I-
they're filled.
Yeah, I noticed that the high school was struggling to fill varsity and JV positions, so we've been having conversations about salaries and attracting people and building good feeder programs, so I figured if we're having the conversation with them, we need to make sure we're having it here as well, if we're not struggling to fill them and we have people who,
No, we definitely haven't had a shortage of coaches, not within my time here at all.
I'll abstain.
It's not a conflict of interest, it's just an opinion.
Opinion, all right.
because, I've coached and I've coached middle schoolers and, yeah.
The next section is 2120.
And moving on.
And the salary is increased because of the .1 extra for the early primary guidance, for the increase in the difference in pay for the social worker. And there's also 30 hours in there for scheduling that's done during the summer by the guidance counselors.
Is that the, comment about, sorry, is that the 15 hours that's put
Yes.
I don't see it, but
Right.
yes, okay. Oh, I'm
That's
sorry,
the
oh,
summer
yeah,
planning?
I'm sorry, yes, yes, that's correct. There's 15 for each of them.
I'm happy to speak to how incredibly time consuming it is to do the scheduling,
Well,
as the person who used to do it.
yes, the difference is that John and Abby's team are doing the schedule. And so what now the guidance counselors do is they're just assigning kids to the schedule, so they don't actually have to create the schedule, that's already done, we do that in the spring. But we still need them to assign kids to classes.
A lot of data entry.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And the rest is very standard. The guidance software, the 2000 is for Acuity, which is a program for managing 504 plans.
Got it?
2130 is next, is health services. No real changes. We added hours to Pam Mason last year, so there's no increase there. Let's see. Library is next, 2220. No big change. She's asking for a new shelf, so that's the $3,100.
Looks like we're cutting half a position. Is that right?
It is. Yes, and we may change that in November. We found the position that was there was not being utilized fully, and it was really a half-time position.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to trim it back to reflect what was going on. But since then, John.
Yeah, we've found a need within our third and fourth grade, especially within the literacy program, that we need more hands on deck.
Okay.
And we have since, I would say since this.
Yeah.
There's definitely another 0.5 right back in there
Okay.
that has been very well received from both the employee and the staff that's working with her from third and fourth grade. It was a hole that we found that was very quickly filled, I would say at this point now.
Very well.
And it's definitely to the benefit of our kids to have that person in there.
Yeah. So that will be one of the changes we'll bring back to you in November. We'll
Okay.
add that back in that halftime.
And I don't know, do we need to change that as far as, because it sort of is a 50-50, it's not full-on library assistant, it's.
Yeah, but she's really a para.
Okay.
That's what she really, but she's focused with library, so I think we're fine there. But as a result of considering her to be half-time, we found a half-time work for her to do that's been very meaningful for those students, so it was good to consider it, really change her schedule, and now it's really working well.
I mean, there's been a lot of this, full on, there's been a lot of digging going on at ACS to make sure that, people are being used effectively and for the benefit of kids, and if we're finding things, we're making those changes happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this is a perfect case where the norm for so many years, well, really, how is that benefiting kids? Well, let's figure it out, and that's what we've done.
Principal's office is 2410. transportation for field trips, 2725. You're going to see a decrease here. It is not because we're decreasing field trips or going to be asking our students to pay for them. Philosophically, if a field trip is part of the curriculum, then I think that the school should be paying for it. So we're not changing any of that, but in the past, we've gotten requests for like, we're gonna take a field trip, it's gonna be $2,000. And it was almost like just saying, well, that's what we kind of think, we're not sure. So we asked Sandy to do some look backs at actual costs of field trips. Oh, what do you know? The $86.50, and actually it was a tiny bit less than that, but then we found something else. So the $86.50 reflects the field trips that our kids take. And it's not cutting anybody or making anybody pay, but there's a savings there because those are actual costs. And thank you for doing that, because I know that took time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So the next one is 2210. We're getting down to the end here. This is improvement of instruction. Generally, the funds that are used to pay for teacher and support staff professional development. The funds are calculated based on the number of staff and the balance that is in the trust fund for this as well, which we have not had to use at least in the last several years now since I've been here.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, it is.
Do we typically have a fund balance there, since we're not
We do.
touching? And is it something that we need to look at what the actuals have been for the last few years to know, or
We don't have,
we have to budget what the opportunity is?
we do. We have to budget our obligation, and generally the balance on that is low, and teachers, if there is a balance, can petition. I get a request in May and ask if there are unused funds that the staff can get extra money from their PD. So we've been able to do that the last couple of years and have a little balance, but it's not an outrageous balance. And we do have the trust if we needed to go over, but
How much is in the trust? Is that
I can tell you.
51,447.
Thank you.
It's in the, it's listed in the sheet.
School board is 2310.
Yay, Lipos.
There you go. Your biggest amount down is legal. Yeah. We're doing okay. Yeah, you never know, right?
Till the next
You
election.
never know, but we're doing good. Office of the Superintendent is next, 2320. There's nothing dramatically different in here. We have put in a request for new carpeting for the first floor. Ours is really old and really not good. So we did get a quote, it's a little bit over $4,000 for next year. It'll be the whole bottom floor that will be done. And that is in, I'm just not seeing it.
Repairs and maintenance.
Middle of page 59.
59. Oh, there it is, right, I put it right in. Repairs and maintenance 59. That's why there is an increase. Business services is 2510. it's, there's nothing out of the ordinary in here. I have taken a look at what our past bills have been for electricity and that kind of thing, and done a good estimation of what we're gonna need.
The biggest change on that would be the software for the new program, since it's cloud-based, it's a price reduction.
Okay, transportation is 2721. We're doing some estimating there, not really knowing. We will know the next school board meeting what you would like to do for the bus bid, so we will be able to alter these numbers if we need to. But that is our best estimate right now, and we also have included in there $23,670 for homeless that we need to pay for as well. And then I put 20,000 in there for the daily ACS to the high school, which may be less than that, but that would be the maximum amount.
How much is the homeless transportation? Is it 26?
23,670. And we split that with another district. Well, that's our half of it, I should say.
Great business to get into.
And the last one is food service, and I'll let Laurie take that one.
So essentially, we've just been taking a look at the food service program and have reduced the budget, now that it's more in line with the number of students that we are serving. So we're gonna go from 240,000 down to 220,752. That's the bottom line. We've removed equipment replacement, new equipment, we removed those pieces. And now staffing is 1 full-time equivalent and 4 part-time equivalents at 20 or 30 hours per week.
We have a request from the town to present our budget either on November 14th or November 21st, and given it's school board budget, I'm gonna certainly be there. Do you have a preference as to which day you would like, Karen? They're generally at 6 o'clock. They're both Thursdays. Yeah, the 21st is better for me, but
I guess it doesn't matter.
I'll make either work.
Yeah, either is okay with me.
So 21st is fine?
Good one.
Okay, thank you. So Deb, you'll let them know?
Yes, I will, thank you.
Thank you. And we will be on with Parks and Rec, Grounds and Maintenance, Cemetery and Administration.
Do we have a motion to adjourn the budget session?
I'm sorry?
Do we need a motion to adjourn the budget session?
We do.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for your work.
Yes, thank you.
And then we're going to go into regular session. We have a lot on the agenda, but